what's going on now and the new improvements and things like that. So it's really a positive forum in that sense, and there's a lot of things that make you kind of sad at the forum when you see the little pictures of everybody who's passed away from an overdose. So it's well put together, and if you're able to come, I encourage you to come to that. So.
And I have posters here that I'd like to share if you could take them back to your respective communities. Another good thing is we're offering 4 free CEUs, and anybody in that realm that has to earn those knows that that's kind of a golden opportunity to get 4 free CEUs. So please share that with your constituents as well. We would like a really big response, and we appreciate so much the support of the board and all of you, supporting this initiative. So thank you.
All right, thank you, Anastasia. If you don't mind, what I'd like you to do is go back by Grant Spooner, so he's videoing this, so you can get a nice.
I'll be standing.
Yeah, I want him to put that out there
Absolutely.
so recording people do watch
and I think
the recording.
Dear friend Karen shared this flyer with you all electronically.
Right,
so
right.
That's great. That's great. So just tell one, tell all. So very good.
Okay, so thank you very much. Appreciate the information, and Lori and Mark, thank you for volunteering at the event. I'll see you there, and we will go ahead and move on. Thank you very much, ladies. And we're going to give a little time for Anastasia to get back there. Are you guys ready now?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. We will go ahead and move on to our first old business, and this is going to be our presentation on NARCAM, and that is from the Will County Sheriff's Department. So the guys will be coming up here to give us that presentation.
A lot, about at least half of it, right? Morning.
Good morning.
Deputy Jurors, who's going to do most of the NARCAM stuff, is just pulling up in the
You just got it.
Yeah, you got it.
Yeah, just stop.
So I'm just going to start off by giving you guys a little bit of...
Put your star on. Put your star button.
Go to my
There you go.
There, sorry about that, that's right. So, but, as far as, let me start off with what the Sheriff's Office has been doing enforcement-wise since, for the last couple of years. We have two individual officers that are assigned to 2 separate DEA task forces that are both strictly heroin-driven. As everybody knows, it's getting worse instead of better. So we have two deputies assigned to 2 separate DEA task forces. One which Lieutenant Boris, who's in charge of our gang and drug unit, is here, and he's going to give you guys some numbers on some of the heroin that we have. They, as a matter of fact, just made a stop yesterday in Frankfurt and seized 2 kilos of heroin off a guy from the traffic stop.
Wow.
So it's kind of funny that we're, not funny, but that we're really talking about it.
Right.
We also have, since in the last 2 years, assigned a deputy to an FBI task force that's also part of their task is to the heroin epidemic that's going on. And we also have recently assigned a deputy to the man's unit because it was empty for a long time. And they concentrate a lot on Will County. They've been begging us for years. So with some of the manpower that we've been able to free up with the new shifts that we went to in patrol, we put another person in man. So the Sheriff's Office in the last couple of years has really been hitting the heroin trail. And not only that, all we talk about is enforcement, but I'm also excited about this Will County coalition that we've made up for last year to apply for a drug-free community grant, which is going to not only heroin. What they do is they send a survey out to all the local Will County high schools, and they ask these students, tell us what you've been, the state does, and said, tell us what you're doing and how you started doing it. So their main focus is if we're successful in getting this grant, it's going to be for 5 years, and we got to focus on, where our main focus is supposed to be marijuana and alcohol, because that seems to be what all the high school kids are doing. But we can also drift off and do a little bit of the heroin off of that grant as well. we since, we used to have a motorcycle unit, but the last sheriff dissolved that unit. So the trailer that we used to transport those motorcycles, I don't know if you guys have ever seen these in plain sight trailers where they take a trailer and they make it into like a kid's bedroom. But we've since done that. The sheriff's office just took that trailer. We're in the process of getting it wrapped. Let's say Will County Sheriff, and we're hoping to have it ready by early May. We're hoping, because it took a lot of work to make the inside trailer look like a bedroom. We had to get donations from people for hampers and desks and beds and stuff like that, so that it looks just, and that Heroes House that's going to be going on this month in Roanoke, Grundy County has one, so if you haven't ever seen one, come out and take a look at that one. Ours is going to be very similar to that concept. So we've been in the last couple of years really hitting this epidemic as hard as we possibly can, and been pretty successful, if I might say. So with some of the drugs that we've taken off the street, people that we've put behind bars, so to speak. So that being said, Deputy Jurors, as everybody knows, is my 2016 Deputy of the Year. He's in our training division, and he's been very instrumental in training police officers in the county on the NARCAM. I'll be giving away probably, off the top of my head, not giving away, but earned life-saving awards, about a dozen or 15 for the past year for NARCAM, strictly for NARCAM.
Wow.
So it's been pretty successful, and he's what's made it successful in teaching everybody. In the county, all over the county, officers all over the county, on how to use this NARCAM. So without further ado, I'll turn it over to him.
Thank
Morning,
you.
I apologize for my tardiness. We're in the middle of rifle training and just slipped my mind. I got a mic now, awesome. Okay, so again, my apologies. So I just put this together real quick. It's very short. It's going to be precise and to the point. So we started our program May 5th, 2015. Or I'm sorry, the Illinois Heroin Crisis Act passed at that time, requiring police officers to be trained in delivering NARCAN to people that are experiencing an opioid overdose. That's the law right there that requires all law enforcement agencies to carry and distribute, control the acquisition and storage of NARCAN, which is what we are doing. The Good Samaritan Act is also there. I just provided some information on that in case all of you were interested in reading it. So it protects us, it protects officers that use this, so long as they use this as they've been trained to do so. So we're covered under the Good Samaritan Act, which is great, just like first aid, CPR, and a lot of the other things that we do as well. Okay, so our overdose prevention training was first conducted by the Sheriff's Department on April 23rd, 2015. So we were ahead of the state law actually being mandated. So we're very proud of that. Our first save with NARCAN was March 26th, 2016. We had a use prior to that, but as I had spoken in front of this board prior to, unfortunately that person didn't make it. So our first save came March 26th, 2016. Since then, we currently have about 100 opioid overdose kits assigned to each personnel. We just now have enough to where everybody is getting it. So our lieutenants, our sergeants, traffic unit, crime scene investigation, everybody in patrol. We have 2 kits down at the courthouse, 4th floor and 1st floor, attached to the AEDs. 2 kits up in investigation. We have 1 kit at our Laraway's road station that is attached to the AED in case somebody should come in and be experiencing what we believe to be an opioid overdose. And we just got done, I believe it's coming up another slide, but we just got done training all of our staff at this year's AED first aid in service. We also included NARCAN on that, so the number coming up here and how many of our employees we trained will be up there shortly. So yeah, investigations, we got that 8 Laraway. Okay, so we've covered everything that's up there. We also, with the cooperation of Sheriff Mike Kelly here, gave 2 kits to the Will County State's Attorney's Office as well. So they have it down there. Where exactly, I don't know. That's fallen on them. Okay, so from 2015, 2016, we had 9 uses of NARCAN with 5 lives saved. Doses administered from the above totals, 13 doses. As of March 15, 2017, we had 2 uses and 2 saves. One of the individuals saved had 4 milligram doses administered to this person. So 16 milligrams. Then here it is, during our January 30th to March 31st in-service, we've trained approximately 600 sheriff employees in the use of NARCAN, how to administer it. So that covers everything from enforcement to patrol to investigations to the courthouse, everybody from police officers to civilian staff. All are trained in the administration of this. We will conduct our training every 2 years. The Will County Health Department standard says it should be done at a minimum of every 3, but we're going to do it every 2 and roll in with our AED-CPR program because it all really kind of fits in there. And then we are going to be placing 2 kits in the booking area as well of the AEF. Once just got to get it together and we'll get it down there. So everybody's been trained and ready to go on that, which is awesome. Okay, so currently we've been exchanging out our first supplies of NARCAN that we had received initially. So 2 doses per kit. So in 2016, we had 72 expiring, 1 of 17, 72 plus another one, so 73 total expiring. 217, we have 30 that will be expiring or have expired. 3 of 17, we had 10, and then 4 of 17, so at the end of this month, we'll have 38 expiring for a total of 223 doses or 111 kits. Total cost to replace the above, that's just what we had, $8,325. And I can provide this to you if you need it for notes. So to complete the entire patrol division, we need 45 more kits, plus the kits that we've now placed in investigations, Laraway, ADF booking, and to have extra doses on hand because we have to replace it once it's been used. We're estimating about another 82 kits at the cost of $75 per kit. Now each kit contains 2 doses of NARCAN in the box. So we're looking at an additional $6,150. So NARCAN generally has an expiration date of 18 months. Generally, and I say that only because when the drug companies push them out, maybe we're not getting that full 17 to 18 months, maybe we're getting 16, maybe we're getting 15, just depending on the lot that they're sending out. Correct, absolutely. So it stands now, we have 110 boxes expiring in June of 2018 and 10 boxes expiring in August of 2018, so that's a cost of $9,000. So about every 15 to 17 months, we are spending approximately $15,150 to keep our NARCAN doses up to date. The cost may vary on usage, or damage, something we cannot obviously account for. It's hard to say. You know, we don't have that like in my, going back in my past, working ambulances, everything is nice and kept in nice boxes and things like that. Out on the street, we had one instance where a deputy went to close his door, his kit slid down and got broken. Sure. It happens. You know, we're not. It can be a little rough out there at times. Right. Right. So I'm going to leave this up for a second for everybody.
Good night.
Yes, sir. Well, yeah, absolutely, no problem. Not a problem.
What did you decide, Sheriff, to do about the expired kits? I know we talked about this committee one time, but I never heard the results. All the kits that expired, what did we do with them?
I can actually answer that, okay, sir? All right, what we're going to wind up doing is I've talked to the drug company that provides us our NARCAN. Once I've got all the expired stuff in, I will call them, I'll make a list of everything that's expired, and I will return it to them for proper disposal.
Okay.
We've worked out that it's no cost to us. It's just going to take my time to drive down there, give it, and I'll make sure.
No rebates, get nothing back. No.
I asked that question, so believe me, I did. So like, so we worked this out? But no, they're just saying that they would dispose of it for us because of the quantities that we are purchasing.
Unfortunately, it's not like trading in a used car.
Yeah, no, I did ask Mr. Brooks. I did, sir.
Okay.
I did. I checked on that and swinging a mess. So I tried.
What?
After someone's life is saved with NARCAN, is there any kind of tracking with, does that person enter rehab or what that individual does, like any data that ties to the saving of a life?
Right. We, other than the fact that NARCAN had been used and that the person lived or died, I keep track of that. Aside from what happens to them once they've gone to the hospital, I don't know. No way to track that.
The hospital might have that.
The hospital.
Well, with HIPAA, you might not get that because, you know, they'll have a social worker from the hospital come and talk to that person and provide them with resources on where they can go, how they can get help and all that. So The hospital could have that, but I'm guessing you'd be having a hard time pulling that info.
Right, I
as it
was
was,
thinking
yeah.
about privacy, and things, but it
Correct.
was just curious to me if there's any correlation between having that experience of having your life saved and being more likely to enter a rehab. I was curious.
Dr. Burke, of course.
I'm going to say that one of the things with the grant is working on those wraparound services. So Jeff's right that when you get to the hospital, it's kind of, his role is over. Sometimes people are not wanting to get into treatment. So we're working with the hospitals to have better social work and support in the emergency rooms and then the transition into treatment. Part of the problem is there's no treatment beds. And so depending on the situation, they may follow up or they may not. But we're working to get them with the information they need. And to be honest, the ideal is that they leave with a Narcan, that the emergency room gives them Narcan when they leave, so that if an overdose occurs later in the future, if they choose not to have treatment, they're also protected. So that's all part of the grant that we'll be working on over the next couple of years.
When you say no treatment beds, you mean what by that? Like in Will County, there are 0 treatment beds?
In Will County, for Medicaid or indigent populations who do not have insurance, there are very few, if open, beds. Meaning, yes, we have beds, but they're full. And so, because we don't have a lot of beds.
And based on my experiences from just my past and dealing with this stuff from EMS to where I'm at now, it'll range from somebody getting help, which is what we hope happens, to waiting too long in the emergency room and then taking out their needles of the IV and walking out. We just had a recent case of this where a woman had left one of the hospitals, went home, because she had things to do. So it's going to run the gamut of, she runs the gamut of experiences.
Yeah,
So
which makes it so hard for you guys, because you go out there, you save their life, and then, yeah, so it's a difficult.
Yes, ma'am.
Go ahead, Mike.
Yeah, I thought I read that there's a new generation in NARCAM is going to have a 2-year shelf life.
Not to my
Yeah, it
knowledge.
does. No, the new Narcan is longer acting,
they?
yeah,
Okay.
because, well, also, and you can train 3 years as opposed to 2 years when they used to, but, what happens with Narcan is it gets weaker
Right.
the longer you have it. So even though it has an expiration date, it's still valid, but it's not guaranteed at that point. So, no, that's part of, all medications, I think.
Yes.
Right, I just, when I
Longer-
read that they were doing something that was going to have a longer shelf life of 24 months.
Well, it is 24 months now. But what Jeff's saying is that sometimes we don't get it
Right.
on the day it was created, so
Right.
it's like 18 months by the time we get it, so.
Okay.
For us, it's about 18 months, 15 months. It just depends on when actually that lot was issued.
So is it administered like an EpiPen? Is it an
No, ours are administered nasally.
nasal? Okay.
Yes. So,
And then you had mentioned about one person that you did 4 doses. How do you know when to stop? How do you know?
once EMS gets there, then we turn it over to them.
Okay.
So in that particular case where 16 milligrams were issued, so 4 milligram kits, the woman was blue, pulse was by all rights, had no signs of life from the report. Deputy began CPR on her and started giving her Narcan. She was awake before the ambulance left the scene. So she went from cold and blue to being awake before she left.
That's amazing, isn't it?
Truly
That's
is.
why it's so important.
It truly is. Yes, ma'am. What else, any other questions for you? Yes, ma'am.
Okay. My other, when it's stored near the AED devices, is it in a container like an AED device? Like kind of set away so people can't just.
Absolutely. Right now, all the kits that we have are in secure locations. They're available only to Sheriff's Department employees. And so if we take either investigations or Laraway, for example, if somebody was experiencing an opioid overdose or what they suspected to be, it's right there for our people to grab and use. It is in a black, almost like a sunglass container that says opioid overdose kit. It's not real solid, but it provides it some fantastic protection from what we've been noticing and from the input I'm getting from people on the street. So they would just unzip it, remove the Narcan. It also has a barrier device in it as well in case they need to provide rescue breaths. Then they just go ahead and deliver it, put the head back, insert the basal applicator, and administer the Narcan.
What about in the police cars? How are they secured in the cars? And do the officers, when they respond to something like that, do they have it on that person, like pepper spray or something?
Yes, yes. Well, it's not so much like that, just because the kids would be so big and
Right.
and it's just not really, wouldn't be very safe and put it on the belt. Plus, some of us have more room than others, so it'd be kind of hard to, you know, where they're going to place it. However, what it is, it's in that kid, so if they, I'm not looking, so
Big ways.
right, well, that's what I mean, as politely as possible. So what they would do if they were sent to an ambulance assist or to somebody that they were experiencing some kind of drug overdose, they would take the kit out of the vehicle with them. You brought it. Hey, thanks.
Good, thank you.
So what they would do is they would just grab the kit. It'll slide into their BDU pocket, and then they can go on and they have it with them should they decide to use it at that time. As far as storage, they are required to keep it in the interior compartment of their vehicle because that's the best way we can control during the 12-hour shifts temperature, if you will. From there, so they'll just throw it in their BDU pocket and take it. At the end of the night, they're supposed to bring it in with them as well. So it's always
They
maintaining.
can't leave them in the car?
No, no, they're not supposed to by policy. So did you want to?
Yeah, sure.
This is what we. Thank you.
It's an empty one.
It's an empty one. So you have your plunger right down here. This is where the plunger's at. So you're going to place it in between your four. Well, you remove it from the blister pack first. Take this out. You'll hold like this. This is what the new ones look like. If you
Yeah, they're
remember from
different.
last time,
Yeah.
there was assembly that was required.
So this is faster,
A
yeah.
lot faster. Plus, it's also containing 2 more milligrams of NARCAM as opposed to our old ones. They had 2 milligrams per dose. This now carries 4 milligrams per dose. Remove it from the blister pack, tilt the person's head back, place it in the nostril, and then we're giving 1 full dose right up the nostril. Once we're done, we pull it off to the side and we discard it. That's it. So it just goes in, delivers the 1 dose, and that's it. And I'll pass this around.
So it's much nicer because there's no time for you guys to have to put something
Correct.
together.
Before
Now
we
you
had
just-
to
Yep, I remember that.
Attach the atomizer, if you remember,
Right.
remove the yellow caps, attach the atomizer, and then take a vial of NARCAM, remove the purple cap, push in and twist, and then we would deliver half a dose in one nostril, half a dose in
Right.
the other. From here, it's just remove it from the blister pack, tilt the person's head back, gently insert it into the nose, and the full 4 milligrams right up the nostril.
Right, so it's so much better for you guys because
It's
it's such a rush situation that.
It's a rush,
Fumble with
and then
it.
depending on what's going on around the scene, it
Sure.
depends rapidly evolving people around. So now we're requiring fine motor skills to be able to assemble this, which can cause problems. 'Cause
Sure.
Now we're concerned about what's going on, we've got somebody down. So,
Could be cold, could be raining. so many
absolutely,
things.
outside of bars and parking lots with people not excited to see us, so, yeah. That's
Right.
that's from one actual incident that we had, so.
I should
Go
point
ahead,
out that nose that I handed to Jeff. Jeff created that for us.
It's like
so
somebody
that-
I know him.
So
Thank you.
it was a good example. I mean, it's hard to explain to someone, especially when we had the other aspirators, that
Right.
this one is perfect. And so I use it all the time in my training.
Thank you.
Oh, that's great,
created
thank
it.
you, Jeff.
Yeah.
That's not me, no, it's,
It's not you.
nobody would touch it if I took my cat.
Thank you, that's very informative. I love to update you guys because it's, we have new board members here, so it's good for them to see what you guys are out there in the field doing, and we appreciate all the hard work that you guys do
Thank you.
to save lives, so.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, and I will
Appreciate it.
provide this all if you need it more done.
Send it to me and I'll.
Right. It's wonderful, thank you very much.
You're welcome, take care.
Yeah.
Now, I have Lieutenant Force here. He's going to
Okay.
step up, and like I said, he's the charge of our gang and drug unit. And let me tell you, in the small municipalities that you see around Will County, the Braidwoods, the Wilmingtons, the Out East, the Creeks, the Wonies, when you see them make an arrest on a search warrant and on heroin or whatever, 9 times out of 10, our gang and drug unit is involved in that and helping them and being so. That's kind of how we're helping with the local community in Will County as well. We loan these guys out constantly because they're the experts. Their guys are undercover. And like I said, he'll tell you about it. They made a stop last night. They made a nice arrest. So, Lieutenant Boers.
Thank you.
Good morning. Thanks for having me. I guess what I'll go over first is maybe a couple highlights for us, and I'll talk about strictly enforcement. So highlights for 16, and then we can even include some of 17. I know, and I'll briefly touch on what the sheriff spoke about, and that was our traffic stop yesterday in Milwaukee, of all places. Who would have thought? There was a gentleman out of the city, and he had 2 kilos of heroin on a traffic stop, which is a lot. It's 2 brick-shaped items. I mean, and make no mistake about it, that was destined for our streets here in Will County. So it didn't end there. He actually decided to help himself out. He had 10 more kilos in his house, and then he also had some methamphetamine. So that case is ongoing. We're still with him. And everything we're going to do with him moving forward is time sensitive because it all relates back to Mexico, and he's getting phone calls on where the product is, and everything we're doing has to be quick. So we're working on it right now.
Perfect, thank you.
That was one. That's one of many for us. Of course, heroin is our #1 priority. We spent several months last year down south, our southern Will County area, and even extended past a little bit of Will County into Kankakee. We were following a guy around who was supplying a major supplier for southern Will, Kankakee. He was actually in Cook too a little bit, but we were spending 12 to 16 hours a day, 7 days a week on him. He was so active and so busy, he would start his day at 4 in the morning delivering his heroin, and it wouldn't stop. It would go all day long. So we watched him for a month and a half, and our goal was to not only get him, but to get who he was getting his heroin from. And then we also took it and worked it back down to who he was giving his heroin to then distribute in Will County. So that case went really well, ended up with several arrests. But that, again, there was a lot of our time just trying to make a difference here, and I think it did. The spin-off of that was we were told, because we have several informants and people that give us information, and we do, like the sheriff mentioned, we work with every municipality. Anybody that calls us for help, we're coming to help them. The spin-off of that was the guy that we arrested and took to jail, somebody actually stepped up and took his spot, his drug dealing spot. So then he started running to the city and bringing it back, and that we didn't spend much time on him because we didn't need to, because he wasn't good at it, and we arrested him quickly with a lot of heroin. So for us, the trends haven't changed. It's still coming out of the south and west sides of Chicago. We actually have an informant now. We're going to go take him today out to Harvey and South Holland. So if it's not south and west sides of Chicago, it's coming out of Harvey, like up 57. Simple for most people to get to. And so we're seeing South Holland, Harvey, and those areas over there. I mean, past that, you know, it's tough for us to work some of these informants from an enforcement side, because a lot of what we see are users and dealers. So then we have to make the determination, can we trust him not to use the heroin and use him as an informant, or is he better off going to jail? So it's tough for us. We do the best we can. I think we do well. I have our stats back there, but it's just strictly numbers. So it doesn't really tell you the whole story. I mean, we do seize a lot of heroin along with a lot of other drugs, but I don't know.
And his unit works hand in hand with like the deputies I told you that are in the DEA task force and the FBI and the MANs. They work hand in hand together. They share information so everybody's aware of what's going on in Will County, so we know we're targeting the right people that we need to hit. I'll also, Deputy Chief Buddy, who's in charge of our patrol division, is currently trying to recruit some new young deputies to send to an interdiction classes so that they know what the patrol guys know what to look for. We're considering, you know, we're talking with with Lieutenant Boers and Deputy Chief Buddy and Deputy Chief Ackerson from that division on trying to get a handful of guys for an interdiction team in Will County from the Sheriff's Department, especially with 57 and 80 and 55. You know, we're only probably cracking the surface of what we're able to get in Will County, because it's, and even with our, you know, also, we just, I think I'm gonna buy 2 more canine dogs here in the next 3 or 4 months. Train a couple more guys on that, because those, you know, when we brought those 2 canines back, they're worth their weight in gold. They've really paid for themselves and then some. So we've had pretty good success with that, so we're thinking we're gonna probably purchase 2 more dogs. And luckily, I'm sure, you know, we've had discussions about, as you guys know, the County Board knows, our drug seizure fund, and just about everything we do drug-related comes from that fund, and that's funds that we are seizing from drug dealers. So the dogs are going to be bought with that money, the NARCAM is bought with that money. Anything we do, and now with the state passing some legislation that says now we can use the state fund for some education also. We're looking at ways to try to use that money to educate the community, you know, go out, especially with this inside, you know, playing the trailer. Sorry, had a brain crack there for a minute. So especially with that, you know, we can use some of that money for education for that reason too. So we can send people out to show parents that, look, this is where you need to look. These are where your kids are hiding the stuff if they have it. So it's a nice little perk that we have with that fund. So.
Yeah, I was gonna ask how we're paying for all this, because I know it has cost a lot of money.
Yes, like I said, so the money and property that we seize from, it could take 2 years. A lot of people, you know, get bent out of shape while you're taking people's stuff. Well, they have hearings to prove that they bought that money, bought whatever they own, you know, their cars, their houses, their boats. They have, what is it, about a year or 2 at least, Joe?
It's over 2.
It's about almost, yeah, it's probably 2 years where they get to prove how they made that money and how they bought whatever they bought. And if they can prove that it was legit, they had a job, they got an inheritance from someone, then they get the stuff back. But if they can't prove that that money, that what they owned, wasn't purchased with drug money, then we get to keep it.
Wow, that's good though.
Yeah.
Because how else do you have to cramp their style?
Right,
For sure.
exactly.
You know. Any other questions?
I had a question about your seizures. Are you getting fentanyl? Is it heroin and fentanyl? What are you doing with that?
Yeah, so we have started testing for fentanyl, and we have test kits for fentanyl. And the labs are aware, our lab that we use does test for fentanyl. So when we get our lab results, it'll come back heroin or fentanyl and or fentanyl. We just had some control stop a guy the other day. And instead of testing for heroin, first they tested for fentanyl, and it was positive for fentanyl.
Yeah, so you're seeing more fentanyl come into the community?
Yes, and that is the one we're working today. So.
Yeah, well, you know, like I said, I have a niece who has a friend whose cousin had he used heroin, and then he had gotten some heroin with fentanyl, and he passed away. So, I mean, people like you said, get used to the heroin, and then they get something that's way more potent, and, you know, there's nothing, they just need to not use that drug to start with. So, all right, well, thank you so much. I really appreciate your work, and then the information you've given us is very good for the county board members and the public, so thank you very much. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Okay, our next item on the agenda, now we're back into new business, we have a bunch of jumpers today, will be our MAC overview from Sue Olenek. Sue, thanks for coming today. Oh, sure, thank you. Mine's not quite as a riveting and sobering subject, but nonetheless. Okay, good morning, everyone. Susan Olenek from the Health Department Executive Director. Just wanted to share with you one of the 38 programs that we do at the Health Department, and this is the MAP Collaborative. And I'd like you to think of the MAP process as basically strategic planning for the entire Will County community. That's really what it is. And if we talk about a couple of things that MAP is trying to accomplish, it's really, like I said, the strategic plan for the whole public health system. And there's an actual method that we use to determine what the public health issues are, identify the resources, and then define what these strategic issues are to address the community. So we get the name MAP from, it's an acronym that just means mobilizing for action through planning and partnerships. And it is, like I said, a strategic plan. It is a cycle. All local health departments are required to provide an I-plan or a strategic plan for their community every 5 years. Hospitals are required to provide a community needs assessment and plan every 3 years. So several years ago, we decided, gee, it would make sense for all of us to work together, pool our resources, and come up with a process that would do this all as one. And so that's how MAP was born. I won't go into detail onto every single part of the process. As you can see, it is it's a lengthy process. There are many phases that we have to do through the process. But if any of you have been a participant in a strategic planning process, you'll see that it's very, very much the same. You identify your stakeholders. You have to plan envisioning, whether it's defining a mission, vision, and values, core statements, etc. There's many assessments that we do or surveys that we do. That's your environmental scan and your data collection. And then you identify your strategic issues, and then you decide what are you going to do and how you're going to do it. And so that's really, in a nutshell, what the process is. In the MAP Collaborative, we have a structure that keeps everything kind of in the right place. We have an executive committee. Then we have a general membership of everybody and anybody within the county or even in the collar counties that would like to assist and provide input. Then we have action teams. And right now our action teams are behavioral health, chronic care, and primary care. Those 3 action teams were born out of the last cycle of our strategic plan. When we determined at that time what did we want to do, it had to do with those 3 things, and so we developed action teams to work on those issues. The next part is a data evaluation and monitoring team. You have to have a group of professionals that can look at the data, and decide, okay, what does this mean? And not everybody can do that. So you have to have those kind of people. And then we have special subcommittees that work on the assessments. And they're very lengthy, some more lengthy than others. But we need people to work on the assessments and gather the data and look at it and what does it mean and just number crunch, etc. So that's what the structure actually looks like. Now, our MAP Executive Committee is made up of all of these different agencies. And as I said in the beginning, MAP is a collaborative effort throughout the whole public health system. We're talking about schools and education. We're talking about law enforcement. We're talking about other service providers in the community. The executive's office, of course, our health department, the Will Grundy Medical Clinic, Catholic Charities, Silver Cross Hospital, Senior Services, and the list goes on. All of these agencies literally have people at the table. I chair the executive committee. We have a meeting every other month. It's on a Wednesday morning. It's at President St. Joe's. We hit it at 8 o'clock in the morning. And we have people at the table from every one of these agencies. And it really is a collaborative effort. And I can't tell you what a wonderful thing is to work with these people. I'm not sure if you remember the press release that was put out by both Silver Cross Hospital and our agency in relation to the new behavioral health hospital that Silver Cross is working on. That idea was born out of MAP Collaborative. Ruth Colby sits on our executive committee, and she's been hearing over the last several years about behavioral health issues and our needs, etc. And the light bulb went off in her head. and went back to her leadership and said, you know what, this is what we need. So that is a specific and direct result of our collaborative, and it's a wonderful thing. So I just wanted to bring that to your attention. Okay, so there are actually, like I said, 4 assessments, and these 4 assessments do different things. Last time I was here, I provided to Judy the 2 assessments that we did earlier in the year. We printed those and gave those out. I have the other 2 assessments. If you didn't get a copy, go ahead and take a copy, and we will have them also on our website. We have a link on the willcountyhealth.org website where you can link to MAP. And these assessments provide all kinds of great information. As a county board member, I think that when you read these assessments, you're going to go, wow. There's information on there about demographics and what the residents think is available to them, what our collaborative thinks is available to them. It's just a whole wonderful process. So let's take just a minute to see what do these assessments do. The first one we'll talk about is the Community Health Status Assessment. And this talks about, like I said, community demographics and social determinants. It talks about health status, quality of life, different risk factors. This was done in June of last year, June through December. Remember I said that this is like a 3-year process. So, you know, we go through this cycle continually. And then there's some core indicators that come out of this particular assessment. The next assessment is the Community Themes and Strengths Assessment. And this is an assessment that we actually put out to the community, and we ask them, what do you think? What's in your community? What isn't in your community? What's available to you? What do you want available to you? So we get feedback from the community itself. And this was done this year, January, February. Hopefully you got an email and was asked to participate in that. And then we do a Forces of Change assessment. And that's basically where the committee, the executive committee, and the other members of the collaborative determine, okay, what's affecting the whole system? It could be socioeconomics, it could be the political climate, it could be the environment. In other words, if there was a mass disaster of some sort, it could be a lot of these external things. Many of you are probably familiar with SWOT analysis, strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. It's kind of like our SWOT analysis. That's what it is. There's just lots of different terms for all these things. And then we have the local public health system assessment. And this one is where we look at every single part of our system. And let me show you the next slide here. It's I call it the egg slide. It's kind of hard to read, but when we talk about public health system in Will County, this is what we're talking about. These are all the players in our public health system. And if you look at it, there are a lot of people that are involved. There are a lot of different kinds of agencies that are involved. Like I said, law enforcement, schools, other social service agencies, FQHCs, hospitals. It just goes on and on. That's our whole public health system. So when we say that we're providing an assessment, we're doing an assessment of the whole system, it is of the whole system. It's how well are we doing these things. And these things are the 10 essential things that we have to do as a public health agency. So it is just eye-opening, and that is on the table here. That's what you have in front of you. Okay, so we are finally in the last phase. Our collaborative right now is entering in the last phase of this cycle, and that is going to take place this Friday, April 7th at Presence Hospital. And what this phase is going to do is take all of these 4 assessments, all this data, all this information, all this feedback, and decide, okay, through this next cycle, what are our strategic issues going to be? What are we going to concentrate on? Is it going to be, chronic disease? Is it going to still be behavioral health? Is it going to be transportation? What is it going to be? Because it's not always all about, the health department and our programs. It's about what does the community need as a whole. one of the things that, that I think is going to be bore out of this, no matter what, is talking about health equity. And that's something that's, you know, some new information that's coming out, and that is that, sure, you might have programs in your community that are there, they might exist, but if somebody can't access those programs for whatever reason, they can't get to the clinic, if they can't access the program, is it really there for them? That's the difference, that's health equity. So I'm sure that's something that we're going to have to look at, because,
Can I interrupt you a second?
I'm sure.
Yeah, I just want to announce if anyone's going to be attending the executive committee meeting, it's going to be in the boardroom since we're still running on our meeting here. So you might want to, if you have to go, you want to go over to the county boardroom. A couple people will be leaving.
Okay, sorry, I'm almost.
No, don't be sorry. Don't be sorry.
You don't lose your form, you have 2 items that need.
I know. We'll be, we aren't going to lose our form, they're all saying. Okay, so that's something that we're going to be doing this April 7th. You know, we have a process that we go by. It's a half a day process where we literally sit down and pour over these assessments, and it's difficult. But we work with a great group. That whole public health system and executive committee is a great group. We tend to be able to come to consensus on what's important, and that's going to be taking place, like I said, on Friday. Now,